Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So it is the return of books I read this month, except it's not going to be books I read this month, it's going to be books I read last month, just for the next couple of months, just because the end of last month I just honestly ran out of time to make the video, and then the end of this month I'm going to be away on holiday, so I'm not going to really get to make the video. But anyway, so this is books I read in June 2022. So I'll start off with the first book that I read, and it is called Meet Me in Another Life by Catriona Silvey. I'm hoping that I'm saying that correctly. Sorry if I butchered it. Okay, so if you watched my last time I did this video, I kind of made up my own synopsis, and I always feel like I'm not very good at doing that with books, so I'm just worried that I'm going to give too much away, so I feel like they didn't go very well. So I'm just going to read you synopsis off of Waterstones. So if I'm looking down here, that is why. So Thor and Santi have met before under the clock tower in central, I believe it's pronounced Cologne, with nothing but the stars above and their futures ahead. They will meet again. They don't know it yet, but they'll meet again. In numerous lives, they'll become friends, colleagues, lovers, enemies, meeting over and over for the first time every time, each coming to know every version of the other. Only they can make sure it's not for the last time. But as they're endlessly drawn together and the lines between their different lives begin to blur, they are faced with one question. Why? They must discover the truth of their strange attachment before this and all of their lives are lost forever. So obviously that's a very intriguing blurb, and when I saw this in the shop, I was actually shopping with my parents and I saw this in Waterstones, and I was drawn to the prospect of Meet Me in Another Life because I know I was fresh out of my breakup at the time, so I know that prospect just intrigued me anyway. That was like, maybe in another life we'd have worked out. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it because I'll get upset. But yeah, this book also made me have like an existential crisis, because the people in their life are all the same. They just know each other in different ways. So like I said in the blurb, there'll be like lovers in one life, colleagues in another life, like things like that. So then that made me have a bit of an existential crisis, because I was like, well, I don't want that. Like, if I meet the love of my life, like marry the love of my life, like when we die, like I want to just carry on living like in the afterlife, like as the love of each other's lives. So I had a bit of an existential crisis, like, oh my gosh. But anyway, it's just a book, so I need to get over it. But this is actually a sci-fi like book, so the explanation for why they keep meeting over and over again is actually like scientifically, ow, I just banged my elbow, but it's scientifically based, and there's a scientific explanation for it all. And as a fantasy reader, I know I just didn't vibe with it as much, because I wanted it to be like a big fantasy magical kind of reason. So yeah, but it was a good book nonetheless. I think I cried a couple times. I don't remember if that was to do with the book or with my breakup though, so I don't know. If you read it, tell me if you cry. But yeah, that is this one. So next up, I read The Devil's Advocate by Steve Kavanagh. So Steve Kavanagh is like my absolute favourite author. Like I just love him, especially like my favourite crime author. I can't even begin to explain it, but look, I've got all his books, they're right here. This is all like, these are all Steve Kavanagh. Yeah, absolutely love him. If you are a fan of crime books, honestly, like, check him out. I would not see you wrong. I love the way he writes. It's just, I can't even begin to explain it. But anyway, let me stop gushing and get into the blurb. So it says, oh, this was actually shortlisted for a CWA Ian Fleming Steel Dagger in 2022, so that's like an award thing, I guess. Anyway, let's begin with the blurb. A deadly prosecutor, they call him the King of Death Row, Randall Corner sent more men to their death than any district attorney in the history of the United States. A twisted, ritualistic killing. When a young woman, Skylar Edwards, is found murdered in Buckstown, Alabama, a corrupt sheriff arrests the last person to see her alive, Andy Dubois. It doesn't seem to matter to anyone that Andy is innocent. A small town boiling with rage. Everyone in Buckstown believes Andy is guilty. He has no hope of a fair trial, and the local defense attorney assigned to represent him has disappeared. a former con artist. A hotshot New York lawyer, Eddie Flynn, travels south to fight fire with fire. He plans to destroy the prosecutor's case, find the real killer, and save Andy from the electric chair. But the murders are just beginning. Is Eddie Flynn next? So Eddie Flynn is like the main protagonist of kind of like all of his books. He's like, you know, with crime authors, if you're a fan of crime, you'll know, like crime thrillers, you'll know that they usually have like a kind of recurring character like throughout their stories. You know, like Agatha Christie had Poirot and Miss Marple, you know, that kind of vibe. But yeah, and Eddie Flynn is this character for him. And yeah, just I love it. I love the book. It's set in like deep South America, and just, you know, the way they're like all talking about guns and things, and it's just like the racism is like, this book is very heavy on like the kid Andy, he's a black man, well, young man, he's like about to go off to college, or like is just started college, something like that, and you, like stereotypically the South is kind of racist. So yeah, but like I'm just reading the book and I'm just like, there are actually like people like this like in the South America, and it was just really like, oh my god, like this could actually happen, and probably has actually happened. And it was just like, it's a very, very good book that I think I read it in like 2-3 days because I just couldn't put it down. Like the way Steve Kavanaugh writes is just amazing. I love him. I love him. Anyway, fangirling. Okay, so next up is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. I read Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson, and I really loved the way she wrote, so I was like, I'm gonna get this, basically. So, the blurb reads, all sorcerers are evil. Elizabeth has known that as long as she's known anything. Raised as a foundling in one of Ostermere's, I think it's pronounced Ostermere's, Ostermere's. That's how it's spelled anyway. Great libraries. Elizabeth has grown up among the tools of sorcery, magical grimoires that whisper on shelves and rattle between iron chains. If provoked, they transform into grotesque monsters of ink and leather. Then an act of sabotage releases the library's most dangerous grimoire, and Elizabeth is implicated in the crime, with no one to turn to but her sworn enemy, the sorcerer Nathaniel Thorne, and his mysterious demonic servant. She finds herself entangled in a centuries-old conspiracy. Not only could the great libraries go up in flames, but the world along with them. As her alliance with Nathaniel grows stronger, Elizabeth starts to question everything she's been taught about sorcerers, about the libraries she loves, and even about herself. For Elizabeth has a power she's never guessed, and a future she could never have imagined. So this is a very good book. The world building is very rich. Like, you very much get a sense for like the world. And there were a couple of moments where I was like, you know, and of course there's like some enemies to lovers, some juicy enemies to lovers in there. We love to see it. And yeah, I'm a sucker for a bit of fancy, bit of enemies to lovers, bit of magic. So yeah, I really, really like this book. And the cover is so pretty. Look, it's like, oh, love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so next up is Watch Her Fall by Erin Kelly, and it's got these beautiful sprayed edges that look like feathers. Very, very stunning. So I was attracted to this because I dance, I do ballet, I do jazz, blah, blah, blah. And this is about ballerinas. And basically, sorry for I had a noise, I was like, hello. So yeah, it's about Swan Lake. The production company are putting on Swan Lake, and I'll just read the little synopsis because it gives a little synopsis of Swan Lake if any of you aren't familiar. So I'll just read what this says. So the Swan Lake is divided into the black axe and the white axe, as in black swan, white swan, not like, yeah, anyway. The prince is on stage for most of the ballet, but as the Swans audiences flock to see. In early productions, Odette and Odile were performed by two different dancers. These days, it is usually for the same dancer to play both the roles. Because of the faultless ballet technique required to master the steps and the emotional range needed to perform both the virginal Odette and the dark, seductive Odile, this challenging dual role is one of the most coveted in all ballet. Dancers would kill for the part. So then, just on to the narrative of the actual book. Ava Kirilova, is how I believe it is pronounced, has reached the very top of her profession. After years and years of hard graft, pain and sacrifice as part of the London Russian Ballet Company, allowing nothing else to distract her, she is finally the poster girl for Swan Lake. Even Mr. K, her father, and the intense, terrifying director of the company can find no fault. Ava has pushed herself ahead of countless other talented, hard-working girls, and they are all watching her now. But there is someone who really wants to see Ava fall. It was a very good book. I will say it was slow moving. I don't know, not slow moving, just like, so kind of the first half I was a bit like, yeah, it was kind of more giving context, and then the last half is where like the twists and the turns and the drama really like picked up for me, and I was like like every 5 minutes, and like, so that was really good. But then that bit wouldn't have been as good if it wasn't for the preamble in the first half. So yeah, I did really enjoy it, especially the last half. The second half I was a bit like, ugh. The first half was a bit like, ugh. The second half I was like, it was very good. And there's it switches between different people's point of views, so what you think is one thing is actually, like, from one person's point of view, is actually like not at all in the slightest from another person's, and it's just very like, whoa. Finally, we have With This Kiss by Carrie Hope Fletcher, and again, it's got very, very pretty sprayed edges. Love it. It's also signed, got a little signature in it. I didn't go and get it signed, I just bought it signed from Waterstones. I would love to have like gone on her book tour and gotten it signed, but at the time I couldn't anyway. But yeah, moving on. So it reads, from the outside, Lorelei is an ordinary young woman with a normal life. She loves reading, same girl. She works at the local cinema and she adores living with her best friend, but she carries a painful burden, something she's kept hidden for years. Whenever she kisses someone on the lips, she sees how they are going to die. But she's never known if she's seeing what was always meant to be, or if her kiss is the thing that decides their destiny. And so, she hasn't kissed anyone since she was 16. In the book, it's 18. Just saying. That synopsis is incorrect. In the book, she hasn't kissed anyone since she was 18. Anyway, then she meets Grayson. Sweet, clever, funny Grayson. For the first time in years, she yearns for a man's kiss, but she can't. Or can she? If she does she try to intervene and change what she sees? Yeah, I very much liked this book. It's like, it's all like romantic, and like, she's a hopeless romantic, I like in the book, and I'm a hopeless romantic, so it just like, it works. And you know what I mean, like the second like the Grayson guy walks in, it's just like, oh. Like, I just love it. It's full of like little like romantic moments, and it's just like, it's amazing. I do really, really like it. It was a very, very good book. And also I'm a Carrie Hope Fletcher fan. I follow her on Instagram, and like the way the book's written, like if I didn't know it was written by Carrie Hope Fletcher, I could be like, this is written by Carrie Hope Fletcher, because it's just like the way she talks is very much like the way the book is written. That's probably the same for all authors, but like the only person I would like have interacted with like on social media basis is Carrie Hope Fletcher, and just like, yeah, you can, it's just really cute, and like there's like sprinklings of like theatre and stuff in it, and it's just like, yeah. And I really liked it. I really, really did. So yeah, so that is my little reading list for June 2022. Let me know in the comments if you guys have read any of these books. I'd love to like talk about them with people. I love talking about books. So yeah, if you've read any of them, let me know. If you are intrigued by any of them and want to purchase them for yourself, all the links will be in the description box. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.